Hello everyone, Amod here from the Target Common YouTube channel. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn basic CSS selectors. In the previous video, I have already explained what is CSS, what is CSS selector, are they same, and why do we use in Selenium WebDriver. I will suggest you to watch that video. If you haven't, then you can come back to this video to understand CSS selector better. So let's get started. So I have created one sample HTML page where we can practice different types of CSS selectors. Let me inspect this page first. We want to write CSS selector for this header. If you inspect this header, you can find that it has been created using h1. So we can use this tag name also as CSS selector. To verify whether my CSS set is proper or not, we can press Ctrl F and then at the bottom you can see find by string, selector or XPath. This section I have already used multiple times in my previous videos and especially in XPath series. So if you want to write XPath for this tag name, so I need to use /h1. But in CSS selector, we don't need to use any slashes. That means you can directly use h1. But in this tool, you can see it is highlighting one of four. So you can see it is highlighting this one also. Then it is highlighting closing tag as well. If you press enter, you can find some other h1s as well, which we don't want. So why it is happening? Because this search box will work for string as well. So h1 it is taking as a string and highlighting all h1s. So what is the another way we can validate our CSS selector? For that, you can go to console tab, then type dollar, and within this use single quote or double quotes and just put the tag name and close it. Hit enter. So you can see it is giving you one web element h1 with the text CSS selectors test page, which I want basically. So if you want to use this CSS selector in your Selenium script, then it's very easy. I have already created a basic script to load Chrome browser and my HTML page. Here I need to use Chrome driver dot find element, then use by class, and here we have one method called CSS selector. Like for every locator we have different methods. So for CSS also we have different method called CSS selector. Select it and pass the selector which is h1. Once element is found, I am going to extract text. So get text and let me directly print it instead of storing into a variable and then printing it out. Run it. So here we can see it is printing my desired h1 text. Now let's move to another CSS selector example. Let me inspect this submit button and you can see it has been created using a button tag and it contains ID. So if you want to create a CSS selector for a web element which contains an ID, we can use hash symbol and then give the ID value, which is submit hyphen button. Copy it, paste it here. So you can see it is highlighting one of one web element. Or suppose you want to have more proper locator, that means you want to look for a button where you have ID, right? So for that, let's remove it. Use the tag which is button here and put the hash and give the ID value which is submit button. So this CSS locator will find a button where we have ID value equal to submit hyphen button. If I put input instead of button, so it will not highlight any web element because we don't have any input element where we have ID value equal to submit hyphen button. Let's move on. For the same button, we have another attribute called class and value is highlight. So if you want to write CSS selector for a web element which contains a class, then we have a simple way. Press Ctrl F and use dot and pass the class name, which is highlight. So you can see it is highlighting total three web elements. First one is button where we have class attribute and value is highlight. If you hit enter, you can see it is highlighting another input web element where it has a class and class attribute has value highlight. But we have another class name as well. So this locator will find all the web elements where class attribute contains highlight. If you hit enter, then it is highlighting here, which is CSS selector actually, which is part of my HTML code. So basically we have total two web elements only, which is matching this CSS selector. If you want to get exact count, you can go to console tab and here I can use two dollar symbols, and in double quotes or single quotes, put dot highlight and close the parenthesis. So you can see it is giving you total two web elements. One is button, another is input. So using $2 is shorthand of using document dot query selector all method. If you use single dollar, that is document dot query selector, we will get the first matching web element. For example, here instead of double dollars, I am going to remove one. So now you can see it is giving you only one web element, which is button. That is first matching web element. We can obviously use tag, that means button dot highlight. That means it is going to locate all the buttons where we have class value as highlight. If you see this input tag, here I have two classes. So now if you want to locate those web elements using CSS Selector where you have multiple classes. So whatever approach we follow for one class, same approach we need to follow for multiple classes. That means let's copy this form control class name, remove the button, and then use dot, put the class name. So now you can see it is highlighting only one web element where we have both the classes. Order does not matter. It is going to see if both classes are present in any web element. So I hope this is clear. If you see these text boxes where we have attributes like name, type, and placeholder, so we can use attributes as well in CSS Selector to locate web element. For example, this input tag can be located using any of these attributes. So if you want to locate input where name is username, then you can use tag name, which is input, then use two square brackets, give the attribute name, which is name, and value you need to give after putting equal to, and in the single quote or double quote, whatever you want to use, put the value, which is username. So you can see it is highlighting. You can omit this as well, like you want to locate all those elements where we have name attribute with value username. So let me remove this one. Still you can see it is highlighting. Now it is possible that one attribute might not be enough to locate any element uniquely. So we may need to use more than one. So whatever approach we follow for one attribute, I need to use similar approach for another attributes as well. For example, I want to use this placeholder attribute as well. So copy the attribute name, put square brackets, attribute name, and then keep the value in single quotes. So now you can see it is highlighting the desired one. If you change anything here, like remove the E, then you can see it is not highlighting any element. So using this approach, you can combine more than one attributes. So in this case, both attributes will be checked with the values. It is AND. If any attribute is not matching, then it will not locate that web element. So this is AND. Now you might have requirement that either check this value or that value. For example, look for the web element where name attribute has value user email or placeholder value is this one. So let me use user email here. As of now, you can see it is AND. That's why it is not highlighting any web element. So to use with OR, we need to use comma in between these two square brackets. So now you can see it is highlighting total two web elements. First one, second one. And this works with Selenium WebDriver as well. Let me show demo. So Control A, Control C, let me directly use this out. So Chrome driver dot find elements by dot CSS selector and pass the selector here, and then let me call size method. So we are expecting that it should return me total two web elements. In fact, count. So you can see it is two. Let me remove the second one. So whenever we are using these attributes, so this is always exact match, like name must be equal to user email. But sometimes we may need to use with partial matching. That means my name attribute should start with user. And if you write only like this, it is not going to locate because here we are using equal. So if you want to use starts with, then use caret symbol. So here you can see it is highlighting total two elements. First one here where it starts with user, and if you hit enter, you can see here also it starts with user. Again, it is case sensitive. If I use capital U, so it is not highlighting any web element. Similarly, if you want to locate web element where any attribute value ends with some specific string. Then instead of caret operator, we can use dollar. So now you can see it is highlighting fourth input element because here name attribute ends with user. So we have covered starts with, ends with. Now you don't bother whether it starts or ends. Your requirement it should contain. Then we need to use start. Then you can see it is highlighting three web elements. Here also we have user, here also we have user, and here also we have user in name attribute. So we can combine multiple CSS selectors using comma. For example, I can write id CSS selector, that means hash, then give the id value. Then you want to write CSS selector for another web element because you want to locate everything together. Then use comma and maybe I can use input, then attribute name is name and value will be username. So now you can see it is highlighting two web elements. First one is button where we have ID and second one this input text box. So these are basic CSS selectors. In the next video we will learn about pseudo selectors. So if you have any doubt please comment on this video. If you really like my videos please like, comment, subscribe and share with others. Thank you everyone.